for nearly half of the injuries of high school students. 40% of these injuries return to the mat in 1 week.
These strains can be prevented by executing the proper form while wrestling. However, if a sprain or strain is to occur, you should schedule an appointment with your physician and follow the Rice method of recovery, which is rest, ice, compression, and elevation.
Breaking!
Performance-enhancing drugs. Performance-enhancing drugs, such as anabolic steroids like stanozolol and nadrolone, are a form of anabolic steroids that suppress testosterone and gonadotrophic functions and diverts the muscles needed to wrestle.
Testosterone is also a common hormone steroid used in wrestling.
Side effects include joint swelling, carpal tunnel syndrome, increased risk of diabetes, immune response against human growth hormones.
Side effects of human growth hormones include rapid muscle growth, slash fat, increased libido, heightened energy levels.
There is also a large correlation between body-enhancing drugs and heart disease.
Wrestling training includes running sprints, live wrestling, running stadiums. Go as fast as you can go. Keep going!
Hi kids! Today's Chemistry 101 lesson is nandrolone. Nandrolone is a form of anabolic steroids that suppresses the testosterone and the gonadotrophic functions and diverts it to the muscles needed to wrestle. The IUPAC name is really long. The structural differences between them consist of reduction in a double bond to a single bond, accompanied by a reduction of a carbonyl to a hydroxyl group in the first ring, and an oxidation of a hydroxyl side group to a carboxylic in the fourth ring. These differences are shown in blue. Now, can I stop?
Yeah. Newton's second law of motion states that force is equal to mass times acceleration. This applies to wrestling in that a wrestler needs more force to take down a heavier opponent. If you were to attack a 150-pound opponent with that amount of force, but on a 300-pound opponent, he wouldn't win. It's very important in wrestling. The center of gravity of an object is an imaginary point where all of the weight is concentrated. When a wrestler attacks at the waist, it allows him to take over his opponent because of a center of gravity.